This video will show you how to replace the front outside door handle on a Mitsubishi Outlander. This will be mounted to your front door. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. To remove the outside door handle, we're going to have the door in the open position and we're looking inside the door jamb area. So as we look in here, we can see that we do have a small cover. I'm going to carefully pry that out of place. I'm just using a small pocket screwdriver. You can use whatever you deem fit. We'll set that aside. Now as we look inside of the circular port, you can see that there's a small T30 torque screw that we have to loosen. As we start loosening that screw, we're taking hold of the door lock bezel and we'll carefully start pulling that away from the door. If you find you have a hard time pulling it away by hand, you could gently pry using a small screwdriver. Just be extremely careful not to cause any damage to the paint on your vehicle. Now we can remove that door lock bezel. We'll bring this over to the bench, but first let's continue on with the door lock handle itself. So now we can take hold of the door handle. We're going to have to pull it in towards the port where we just removed the door lock bezel from, and we'll pull this out of place. Let's get over to the bench. On the bench, we're looking at the door lock bezel. Let's have a look from the back side. Now you are going to find that you have a locking ear that you can make your way in and behind. We'll gently pry that away and we can pull the lock cylinder out and away from the bezel. There it is, friend. On the bench, let's have a close look at our door lock bezel and our door lock cylinder. As far as the bezel itself, you can see that we do have two small slots on one side and the other side has a locking tab. On the door lock cylinder, we have two tabs that would slide into the slots, and on the opposite side, it's just a little locking tab. So we're going to align the two tabs with their corresponding slots on the bezel. And now we're just going to roll this into position. We'll listen for an audible click and make sure it's secured so that does not fall off while we're driving down the road. Let's get over to the vehicle. So we're looking at the door. I'm just using a clean rag. I'm using some glass cleaner. You can clean your door any way you deem fit. Now before we start installing the handle or even the door lock cylinder and bezel, I want to have a quick look inside of this area. Looking deep inside, you can see exactly where that door lock cylinder needs to fit into. That's an important thing to note. Now before we install the door handle, let's have a quick look inside this area. We're going to have to use a small angled pick so we can pull on this little rod. As we pull it away, we'll slide the handle into place. We're starting with the forward end. We're going to roll this in, and now I'll just pull on this handle and release my pick. Before we go any further, let's go ahead and pull on the handle and make sure it retracts. If it does not retract, you are not in the proper positioning. Now it's time to install the door lock cylinder and the bezel. Looking at the very end, you can see that we do have this rod. That needs to slide into the corresponding port inside of this area. Once we have this pressed in, we can continue on with the screw on the outboard side. Now I'm using my T30 onto that screw. We'll make sure it's nice and tight. Now let's take hold of that bezel. We'll make sure it's secured to the vehicle. Install your protective cover. Nice. Now before we close our door, we like to test the functionality. I'm looking at the door latch itself while I'm holding onto my handle. I'm going to be using my tool as a striker here on the vehicle. Now if I was to shut the door, the striker would go inside of the latch. Now at this point, if I was to try to open the door without pulling the handle, it should not release. As I pull on the outside handle, I want to see this release. Let's test that one more time here. I'm applying pressure, and it does release. Now we've tested it that way. Let's go ahead and close and open the door a couple times here. Perfect. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.